Chapter 13, The Secret Behind the Success. Until now, Vanessa Moore had been an observer. She listened. She watched. She learned. Every conversation. Every relationship. Every weakness. Every hidden tension within the Sinclair family. And what she discovered fascinated her. The Sinclair family had spent years underestimating Amelia Hart Sinclair. Years dismissing her. Years assuming she contributed nothing. Meanwhile, the woman they barely tolerated was the very reason their empire continued growing. The irony was almost amusing. But Vanessa wasn't laughing. Because she had begun wanting something dangerous. A place inside the Sinclair family. A place Amelia already occupied. And the more she saw of Amelia's influence over Ethan, the more she found herself wondering what would happen if that influence disappeared. It started innocently enough. Or at least that was how Vanessa justified it. A small suggestion here. A carefully timed comment there. Nothing overt. Nothing malicious. Not yet. One afternoon, Victoria invited Vanessa to lunch. The two had become surprisingly close. Much to Amelia's confusion. As they sat inside an upscale restaurant, Victoria spoke proudly about Ethan's latest achievements. The company has never been stronger. Vanessa smiled politely. Mr. Sinclair works very hard. He does, Victoria sighed. Sometimes too hard. Vanessa stirred her tea, then casually said, I suppose not everyone appreciates the pressure he carries. Victoria frowned. What do you mean? Vanessa immediately shook her head. Oh, nothing. The older woman narrowed her eyes. What did you mean? Vanessa hesitated. Pretending reluctance. It's probably not my place. Vanessa. The younger woman sighed softly. I just think Mr. Sinclair deserves more support sometimes. Victoria's expression hardened. Amelia doesn't support him. Vanessa quickly raised her hands. I didn't say that. But the seed had already been planted, and seeds have a way of growing. A week later, another opportunity appeared. Victoria and Sophia visited Sinclair Tower unexpectedly. While waiting for Ethan to finish a meeting, they stopped by Vanessa's office. The conversation began casually. Then Sophia noticed something. A stack of reports. Detailed business analyses. Strategy recommendations. Notes? Sophia raised an eyebrow. Do you do all this? Vanessa smiled modestly. Part of my job. Sophia looked impressed. So you're basically running half the company, Vanessa laughed. Not even close. But she didn't deny it. The distinction mattered. Because allowing people to reach their own conclusions was often more effective than telling them what to think. Victoria studied the reports. Clearly impressed. Then Vanessa delivered another carefully chosen comment. Honestly, Mr. Sinclair pushes himself too hard. Victoria immediately agreed. He always has. Vanessa sighed. Sometimes I wish someone could convince him to rest, Sophia laughed. Good luck with that. Again, the implication hung in the air. Unspoken. Powerful? Someone cared. Someone understood. Someone worried about Ethan. And slowly, without realizing it, both women began associating those qualities with Vanessa rather than Amelia. Meanwhile, Amelia remained completely unaware. She spent most of her time working quietly from home. Helping Ethan. Supporting him. The same way she always had. One evening, she handed Ethan a detailed proposal addressing a major issue within the company's logistics division. Ethan reviewed it. Then smiled. You're a genius. Amelia rolled her eyes. You say that too often, not often enough. He kissed her forehead. A simple moment. A loving moment. Unfortunately, it happened behind closed doors. Nobody saw it. Nobody knew. And that was becoming a problem. Because while Amelia's contributions remained invisible, Vanessa's contributions were increasingly public, increasingly visible, increasingly celebrated. The next phase of Vanessa's plan was more dangerous. Far more dangerous. Because now she began targeting Ethan directly. Not his trust. Not yet. His perception. The change was subtle. Masterfully subtle. One morning, Ethan arrived at the office exhausted. Another sleepless night. Another demanding week. Vanessa immediately noticed. You should take a break. Ethan laughed. I wish. No, seriously. She handed him coffee. You look exhausted. Thanks. That wasn't a compliment. For the first time in days, Ethan smiled. A small victory. Exactly as Vanessa intended. Over the following weeks, similar conversations continued. Always harmless. Always supportive. Always focused on Ethan's well-being. Meanwhile, whenever Amelia expressed concern about his workload, the conversations felt different, because Amelia knew how much pressure he carried. And sometimes concern sounded like criticism. You need to slow down. I can't. You haven't slept properly in days. The company needs me. Those discussions often ended in frustration. Not because Amelia was wrong. Because Ethan hated hearing truths he couldn't change. Vanessa noticed the pattern immediately, and quietly used it to her advantage. Then came the first real lie. Small. Almost insignificant. A tiny distortion of reality. The kind people rarely question. One afternoon, Ethan asked Vanessa to deliver documents to his home office. When she arrived at the penthouse, Amelia happened to be speaking with Ethan on the phone. The conversation wasn't an argument. Merely a disagreement about an upcoming acquisition. Amelia believed the deal carried unnecessary risk. Ethan disagreed. Professional debate. Nothing unusual. Nothing personal. Yet Vanessa only heard part of the conversation. Or at least she pretended to. The following day, Victoria called her. Concerned about Ethan's stress levels. Vanessa sighed dramatically. He's under a lot of pressure. I know. There was even an argument yesterday. Victoria frowned. With Amelia. Vanessa hesitated. A carefully calculated pause. I probably shouldn't say. That was answer enough. Immediately, Victoria assumed the worst. And once again, the seed was planted. Amelia was creating stress. Vanessa was reducing it. A dangerous narrative. And one that was beginning to spread. Weeks later, Ethan attended a family dinner without Amelia. She had a prior commitment, a rare occurrence. The conversation eventually turned toward her. As it often did. Victoria sighed. I worry about you. Ethan frowned. What? You work constantly. I know. And Amelia doesn't seem to understand. Ethan looked confused. What are you talking about? Victoria exchanged a glance with Sophia. Then said, Vanessa mentioned you've been arguing. Immediately, Ethan's expression changed. Not anger. Confusion. Vanessa said that. Victoria nodded. Ethan sat back quietly. Because something felt wrong. Very wrong. Yes, he and Amelia occasionally disagreed. But arguing? Not really. Certainly not enough for other people to notice. A strange feeling settled in his stomach. The conversation moved on. But Ethan couldn't stop thinking about it. That evening, he returned home. Amelia was sitting in her office. Surrounded by reports. As usual. He watched her for a moment. The woman who had spent years helping him succeed. The woman who always put him first. The woman everyone seemed determined to misunderstand. Ethan? He blinked. What? She smiled. You've been staring at me for 30 seconds, he laughed softly. Then walked over and kissed her forehead. Nothing? But it wasn't nothing. Because for the first time, Ethan noticed something. People were forming opinions about his marriage. Opinions based on incomplete information. Opinions influenced by people who didn't know the full story. And somewhere in the middle of it all stood Vanessa. Quiet? Helpful? Trusted? Becoming increasingly involved in matters that had nothing to do with her. Still, Ethan dismissed the thought. Because he trusted her. Why wouldn't he? She had given him no reason not to. And that was exactly what made her dangerous. Late that night, Vanessa sat alone in her apartment. A photograph lay on the table before her. A newspaper clipping featuring Ethan and Amelia. The image was years old. Taken shortly after Ethan became CEO. They looked happy. In love. Unbreakable. Vanessa stared at it thoughtfully. Then slowly folded the clipping and placed it inside a drawer. A faint smile touched her lips. Not a happy smile. Not a kind smile. A calculating one. Because she understood something Amelia didn't. Love wasn't destroyed overnight. Trust wasn't shattered instantly. People didn't wake up one morning and suddenly hate each other. No. The strongest relationships fell apart the same way buildings collapsed. One crack at a time. And Vanessa had just created her first.